What's up and welcome to Q&A, the show where I take your questions from YouTube and answer them here in video format. Like always, if you want to make sure that your question has a chance to get answered on the Q&A show, you have to make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you can be notified when the community prompt comes up. It comes up, Thursday morning with Thursdays, and it should be up Sundays after the game or the morning after the game, right? When I do both of the Q&As. So again, if that's where you have questions, make sure, or if you want to ask questions, make sure you ask them right there. And make sure you subscribe to notified so you don't miss out, so you don't have to search and wonder when did the community tab go up. If you just hit that notification bell after you subscribe, your phone would let you know when the post is up, so you ain't got to guess, right? But that being said, let's get into some of these questions, and we're going to start with a question from Greg, who says, hey, Q, I'd like to get your thoughts on who should be the starter when Greedy is fully back and healthy. MJ Emerson has played well. From what I've seen, he's still a rookie. Does Greedy have the experience to have the starting role, or should we continue to roll with MJ? The thing with Greedy is, like, he still gives you those rookie mistakes, right? So it's not really that much of a difference between the mistakes you'll get from MJ Emerson and the mistakes you'll get from Greedy. I think that the Browns are going to play the long game here and put MJ in there because MJ, he's a rookie. He's going to be under contract for the next 3 seasons, including this one, so 4 seasons. While Greedy, he's going to be likely gone after this year unless he signs like a small deal to return for like a year. So I think Greedy will be great for depth. Greedy will be great once we get comfortable with this defensive line to get in some of these lighter packages. But I just don't see there being a great use for Greedy Williams right now on this team. So that's kind of the situation that Greedy ends up in right now. The next question comes from Doomsday Prophet, who says, after the first 4 games where we were generally favored to win, I don't even think that's true. I think we were favored in 2 of those games. What do you think our chances are to get the next 2 out of the next 4 and make it to the bye week at 500? Will we be underdogs in at least 3 of those 4 matchups? I mean, like, I don't really pay attention to the lines. Like, I'm not a bettor. I don't really care who's the underdog. I care about the matchups here, and I know that the matchups are favorable for you in New England. In Cincinnati, you have some good matchup scenarios, and I think this week is another situation where the matchup is another situation where, hey, you know, it might be a more favorable situation for you. So again, man, this is the NFL, and I don't say this to like hand wave or to disregard your concerns, but like we saw the Indianapolis Colts look like a terrible team on Thursday Night Football. That same team somehow got a victory over the Chiefs, which is to say, sometimes in the NFL, good teams beat themselves, and you're the benefactor of that. Sometimes you play better than what you expect. Sometimes other teams just don't play good. We can't go through this and think that every team's going to play how they always play all the time, you know, and just take yourself out the game. There's a reason why any given Sunday is a thing, and that's because when the margins are as thin as they are in the NFL, and even like between a team that you think is terrible versus a team that's good, the margins are thin. Relatively speaking, like compared to college football, where it's almost impossible for Ohio State to lose to like Rutgers or something like that. It's different in the NFL, where it's always possible to lose a game, no matter who you are, and that's why nobody goes undefeated. So, yeah, man, the Browns have as good of a chance to get to 500 as any other team in the NFL. There's no dominant team out there, and there's no team where the margin over other teams is so great that you can't expect the Browns to have a chance to win, especially when they've been playing well. Next question comes from Michael Johnson, who says, hey, Q, I think one of the things people aren't talking about is that even if Clowney and Miles are back, they're not going to be 100%. So how much of an impact do you realistically feel that's going to have on the game? I would say this. They're going to be about as close to 100% as they're going to be. I mean, nobody's 100% during the course of an NFL season, so I don't know if that matters as much. The thing that matters with Clowney and Miles being out there is that their presence changes things for the offensive line of the other team. Whether they have breakout games or not, their presence is going to be important. Sure, they're not going to be 100%, but that matters so little in the NFL. You guys thought that I only did this with Baker Mayfield. I do this with everybody. If you're on the field, you're good enough to play. And the expectations are the expectations, right? I don't care if you got a brace. I don't care if you got a sleeve. If you're out there, the expectations are the same as if you were out there without quote unquote injury, right? Like everybody's hurt in NFL. Everybody is hurt. Nobody is 100% healthy. Everybody's working through something. Everybody's trying to get, better with something or has some kind of pain somewhere. It's the NFL. They got to perform. And with Miles and Clowney, they're fortunate enough that their reputation precedes them. So even if they don't play well, they will have an impact on this game. But yeah, I would expect them to play well, just like I would expect any other player to play well. I'm not giving passes because you're coming back from injury. Like, everybody come back from injury. Like, he wouldn't be the first one to play well after coming back from injury. He won't be the last one. So I don't know why that would be an excuse. The next question from Dale is, after seeing Russ and Brady struggle and Cooper Rush and Jacoby looking decent, what do you think the difference is? Age, system, coaching, something else? And how will that translate to Watson once he comes in? All right, so there's been a lot of questions about this, right? Russ is looking bad. Baker looks bad in the new offense. We can even go Matt Ryan. You can say Brady looks bad, but Brady's 45, right? And then you could look at Cooper Rush and Jacoby and even Marcus Mariota looking decent in their new systems, and you ask yourself what's going on. And, football has a lot more to do, especially if you are not a exceptional talent. And there was a point in time where Russell Wilson was an exceptional talent at quarterback. He has aged to the point to where he is a good talent. He's very talented still has that speed, still able to move, but that ability to be accurate on the run, he doesn't have that anymore. That deep ball, he doesn't have that anymore on a consistent basis. He'll give you 2 or 3 drives of it, but he doesn't have it, right? On top of him being in a situation, right, him and Brady and even Matt Ryan are in situations to where teams thought they were getting the prime version of them. And when teams thought they were getting that prime version of him, they kind of relied on him to be that elevator. Russ is no longer an elevator. Brady, I'm not going to say nothing about Tom Brady right now. I've fallen for that trap before. But Matt Ryan, not an elevator anymore. I mean, there's questions on if he ever was, but he was certainly a very good player in the Kyle Shanahan system. So then you go to guys like Cooper Rush and Jacoby who look decent. And I think that's because they're in a system with coaches that understand their limitations and are prepared for those limitations. Russ is in a situation where he doesn't have adequate coaching, and he's not in a situation where he has a coach. He's done too much to have Nathaniel Hackett tell him, hey, you're limited in X, Y, and Z areas. This is why we can't do these things. Russ ain't going to listen to that because Russ doesn't believe he's limited yet, right? And that's where these older quarterbacks get in trouble, is when they start to have limitations and there's nobody in the room to tell them that they would listen to, hey, these are the limitations, you're in trouble. I think that's part of the reason he had so much tension with Pete Carroll, was because Pete Carroll was probably trying to let him know, hey, man, you can't do these things like you used to anymore. So we're not doing them. And Russ thought he was still Russ. Now, as far as how this affects Watson, I don't think it really is a relevant situation to DeShaun. I think DeShaun's situation is different, given that he's much younger. He's even younger than Jacoby Brissett, given that he is still in his athletic prime. And given that, yeah, he's in a new offense, but this offense is also one that's going to be helpful for him in his return. So I don't really have this amount of concern. But this last question also asks us about DeShaun. He says, good morning, Q. Seeing how Rush struggled with the Broncos, and am I worried about DeShaun having struggles when he returns after a break from football, given that Russ is not good right now and he had a break? This is not relevant to the Deshaun Watson conversation, because when you look at Russell Wilson, I don't see a rusty quarterback. I don't see a quarterback struggling with his offense. No matter how much they try to tell you that in a broadcast, when I look at Russell Wilson, I see a guy who does not have his fastball like he used to. I see a guy who does not have his deep ball like he used to. And I see a guy who does not have his throw on the run like he used to, but still believes that he does. He's just aged, right? He is aged, and he has not realized that he is aged, and he is not accepting that his game is limited and playing within those limitations. He's still acting like he's 2016 Russ. He ain't that no more. With Deshaun Watson, this has very little to do with Russ, right? Because Deshaun's still in his athletic prime. He's 27 years old? Like, he's younger than Jacoby Brissett. So I don't think that is an issue with Deshaun, and I think we're going to see a lot of the Russ conversation, R-U-S-T, when it comes to Deshaun Watson, was very overrated. Because I think even in that preseason game that everybody's been crying about, he had 2 drives. Sometimes you just have 2 bad drives in a football game, right? That doesn't necessarily mean he was rusty. And I think if he played a full half of football, he would probably have looked fine by the end of that half. And I would expect the similar thing when he comes back. He might have a rough couple of first couple of drives, but by the time we get to the fourth quarter, he's going to look like Deshaun Watson again. He's going to have enough time to practice. He has been prepared in the system. I think this has become very overblown, this whole narrative about Deshaun. But we'll see. Ultimately, time will tell. But that's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Y'all have a great day. Have a good night.